You don't have to be viral to be valuable. Confidence for me comes from competence. I want to be the host. I want to be the MC. People do business with people. If I continue to meet new people, treat them well, and provide value, that's a good day in my book.
Welcome to the Spark Series, where we ignite conversations with innovators, entrepreneurs, and changemakers creating real impact. Our goal is to spark ideas, share journeys, and inspire action. My name is Jason Williams, and in this episode, we're going to be exploring personal brand, storytelling, performance, and what it takes to stand out in competitive environments. I'm excited to be joined today by my guest, Olivia West. Olivia is an award-winning keynote speaker, branding strategist, and in-game host for major professional sports organizations. She works at the intersection of branding, performance, and high-pressure environments, helping individuals and organizations clarify their message and show up with confidence and intention. Olivia, thanks for taking the time.
Hey, Jason, thanks for having me here. We're actually just up the street from where I grew up, so this is very full circle and a great experience for me. Thanks.
Yeah, well, love it. I'd love to hear about growing up. So one thing we always love to start, what was your first job? Do you remember what was that first job? What did you learn from it?
My very first job, well, I think being a rural kid, you work a job as soon as you can walk. You know, I mean, growing up in the farm space, we had animals, horses and pigs. I'm pretty sure that I was out there cleaning pig pens and moving equipment when I was in the 3rd grade. And by no means was that compensated, but I'll say the first job outside of my home, the first job outside of my family, was at a car wash that's actually no longer around. It was called Tiny Bubbles Car Wash. And I remember I was so passionate about getting inside the wheel wells, and I knew every make and model. I think to this day I still have a little bit of an affinity for vehicles, and my car is always spick and span.
Love it, love it. And obviously some work ethic too, working around the pigs.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
You know, you only get out what you put in, and I think that was really evident in the agricultural space. You could buy a really good hog, but if you did not give it what it needed as far as nutrients, as far as training, walking, attention, you know, it wasn't going to perform well come show day. And I think that's very, very similar in business. You know, you can have a great idea, but your ability to steward it and to continue to sow into it, take care of your people, will ultimately drive your success or failure.
Love it. And I can't wait to dive into your career and what that journey has looked like. You truly do have kind of a number of different careers and hats you're wearing. How do you what's your elevator pitch for just what you do when you're with someone?
A lot of that really stems from who I am. I am a creative. I am an entrepreneur. I bring a lot of energy, intention, passion, but also execution to anything that I do. You know, growing up as a young girl, I always just loved people. I'm an only child raised by a single mom, and so wherever I went, I just quickly built community. I got to know everybody's names. I would learn about them, because you can't work well with people that you don't know well. And I think my superpower is truly that connection, that human connection. And what I do via marketing helps bridge that human connection with the master distribution, which is what all brands want. All companies want to connect to people, to help them, but to also be able to capture some type of monetary value on that ascension. And you know, I think going back to your question, how would I simply describe what I do? I think that depends on who I'm talking to.
Yeah, that's fair.
If I'm talking to a sport team, this is what I can do. I can drive better results by doing X, Y, and Z. If I'm talking to a startup scale-up entrepreneur, I'm going to lean more into my marketing acumen. If it is to a big company that in the future, if I might pursue a job or a role, I would use a different language to cater to what their outcome is going to drive to. I also think something that I'm really owning is I'm in process. Yeah. You know, I'm in process. I'm still under 30 years old. I'm not married. I don't have any kids, and so I'm learning this thing as I'm building it.
Yeah,
you know,
fair enough.
And it's been an amazing journey. And every single day, if I continue to meet new people, treat them well, and provide value, that's a good day in my book.
You had a background in marketing, you said, at university, but how did that transition into branding, this performance and speaking elements? I guess, what did that journey look like?
I remember I was working on a highly successful scale-up product. It was a product that was going to reach $1 billion valuation in just a few years. And I remember working on that product and saying, if I'm really this good at branding, and if I can establish content pillars and reasons to believe for this brand that I did not create, I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biochemist, I'm none of those things, but if I can intimately understand the ins and outs of this brand, how it can work, how it can help, can I do the same thing for myself? And is there value in myself and in my own story that I can provide to other people? And I said, yes, there is. And I also think, the talent market anymore is more competitive than I've ever seen it. More people than ever are going to college or getting equivalent degrees. There's actually a whole competition now of even just skill-based workers that, hey, you don't even have to have a degree. Right. As long as you can prove you can do the job, you can be entered in the pool. And one of the best ways to stand out is to tell your story. Tell your story with, yes, both statistics, anecdotes, but that human connection, because people do business with people. People experience people, not just brands.
I want to talk about pressure a little bit. It's safe to say you work in a lot of high visibility environments, right? Not everyone, for a living gets to walk out of a tunnel in front of 15,000, folks in an arena and for work. I guess talk about that. How do you, prepare, for that level of engagement, the crowd you're serving?
Pressure makes diamonds, that's for sure. I would also say that I credit a lot of my success in that space to I started when I was young and naive. I started so early that I did not even know that it was a high pressure thing. I didn't even envision or imagine, people would be judging me for this or judging me for that. I just got good in the dark. I got good when nobody was watching. I got really, really good, and I watched my film and I did my reps when the stakes weren't this high. And I let myself learn, I let myself grow, I let myself experience. Even now, I want to make remarkable experiences for others. And I really think that, pressure is a privilege, and at the same time, as long as I stay rooted in servant leadership, I'm always going to be successful. If I approach something as a servant, then I'm going to win. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is determined by our service. And every time I'm on that mic, I'm serving the crowd, I'm serving the organization. The fact that Pacer Sports and Entertainment, years ago put that trust in me. This girl who just randomly came down from the stands one day and said that I wanted to MC, that I'm the one that they trust every night to guide that audience, is nothing short of a blessing, a miracle. And I never take that lightly, I never take it for granted, and I just continue having fun with it and showing up and serving every day.
You really created an opportunity for yourself. So take us back to, to even becoming an in-game host for professional sports.
Yeah, what an amazing story. I remember I just moved to the city of Indianapolis to take my corporate job, and I knew a couple people in Indianapolis, but not too many. I didn't have any built-in friends or anything like that. And as I was building community in the city I had just relocated to, I said, what are the things that I love? That no matter what season I'm in, what city I'm in, what are things I love? Well, basketball was an easy one. And I went to an Indiana Fever game. I went by myself, so I had plenty of time and space to just kind of be there and experience things. I would also highly suggest for anyone listening, experience things by yourself, because you might be by yourself, but you're never alone. But back to the story about how I got the gig with the Indiana Fever. It was BC and BA before Caitlin and before Aaliyah. So this is when the team was rebuilding, if you will, just won a handful of games, and the WNBA was not near the scale of popularity that it is now. And I got this notion in my head and in my heart and in my mind that I wanted to be a part of this thing. At the time, I had my corporate job, and I didn't want that to go anywhere. And so I looked up who ran the organization, right? Because people connect with people, and organizations are made of people. And I looked at who ran the organization, and I went and go find this individual. I introduced myself and told my story. Hey, I'm Olivia, hardworking kid from Northern Indiana, love this game, love this team, and I'm going to be a part of this. And this person said, what? You want a job? And I was like, I don't know, but I do want your number, so let's stay in contact. And then I actually used her number. I texted her number, called her number, and we kind of just started getting to know each other a little bit, sharing some ideas. A couple games later, I was up in the stands, and the MC at the time asked me if I wanted to play a game. Olivia, 20 seconds up on the clock, name as many fruits as you can, go. And I remember seeing myself up there on the video board, and I said, boom, that's it. I want to be the host. I want to be the MC. The guy that was doing it at the time, to this day, one of my good friends, but he was just filling in. It wasn't his thing. It wasn't his jam. And he's like, hey, man, you could do this. This is easy. And I said, well, I think I'm going to. So I asked, and they said, well, not this season, but come back next season. So I did. I was sitting on the couch one day watching me some basketball highlights, and then decided to use that phone number, send a couple text messages. The president at the time actually sent the email and said, yeah, we will give you an audition. And that's what happened. Except they lied. It was no audition. It was the first game of the season. I walked in there. They said, here, put this earpiece, and then when we tell you to talk, go ahead and talk. So wow, that's some on-the-job training.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, really, really beautiful journey. It's now been 4 years, and it seems like it was just yesterday I started doing this thing, except I'm a lot better now, thank God.
Another thing you've talked about in a lot of your presentations is, being valuable, not viral. If you want to, share about that a little bit.
It's incredibly difficult today for young people to feel affirmed when they're not viral on social media, or if they don't have a lot of TikTok followers, or they don't have a lot of followers on Instagram, or if they don't come from a family with money or whatever. And I understand that. I definitely understand how when you put your best out in the world, you want it to be received well. And if I'm being honest, again, just from my research, most of these successful people that I know and that I do business with, that are friends, peers, and mentors, they are not viral. You don't have to be viral to be valuable. Yeah, you can go for the numbers, you can go for the views, and if that is your ministry, if that is your thing, then do it. If you're a content creator and you need those views and you need that virality to continue to underscore the value of your business, go ahead. But there are many, many amazing, hardworking, valuable, kind people that will never go viral, but will continue to be valuable. And I identify as one of those. I mean, maybe I've had a couple of posts do numbers, but my number that I'm calibrating myself is how many people am I impacting? How many people am I encouraging? And I'm not just saying that they should watch my reel and hit a like button, but are we connecting in real life?
Right.
Are we adding value to one another's real life? And I think it's something that I still have to audit myself on, of not looking left or right too much.
Probably on a just related strain, confidence, obviously tied to this quite a bit. But we know confidence is something a lot of students and young professionals are struggling with. So where does real confidence actually come from, in your experience?
Confidence for me comes from competence, not in how you look, not in how you sound, not on where you come from, not on what car you pull up with or what you're wearing. It comes from competence. It comes from preparation. It comes from knowing your stuff. And I feel that way in a lot of the areas that I operate right now. It's like, hey, when my talent meets opportunity, that's when we can do business. There are some areas I'm continuing to develop, and maybe I don't need to go to the marketplace with that right away. But confidence, you gotta be confident by choice. And we can choose to prepare. We could choose to be incredibly competent and well-studied and well-read about things. There are things all the time. On my way up here, I was reading about something, because I don't want to be naive. I don't want to be left in the dark. And for me, again, my goodness, confidence does not come from what you look like or how you sound or where you're from. It comes from, what do you know? How are you able to impact and help others? It comes from competence.
Yeah, love it. And then the opposite of that, or the flip side of this confidence, maybe that self-doubt or even imposter syndrome. How have you dealt with self-doubt? I mean, even on some level, the story you shared was like, I'm going to be the host for this team. Oh, I didn't mean I wanted to be the host for this team, right? You show up in the tunnel on day one and they hand you the mic. So I guess, how have you dealt with that self-doubt or that imposter syndrome? But then more importantly, I mean, how did you push through that?
Yeah. This is an interesting question, because when it comes to the hosting aspect, I've always felt at home.
Yeah.
I've always felt that this is what I should be doing. I'm really, really great at it. I also have to acknowledge that in itself is not a career. It is a section of a career. It is a part of an offering, but that in itself is not in totality what you can do to drive your life and drive a business. And if I'm being honest, when something fits like that, maybe you're out shopping and you see something and you put it on and it fits like a glove, wear that glove. Derive a lot of your confidence from that. Use that as leverage to then go and create confidence in other areas of your life. I was just talking today to a gentleman who's, owned and run and exited businesses, and I started thinking to myself, what would that look like for me? Is that something that I want to do? Well, if it is, then I need to identify as someone who does those things, even before I've done them. And I think that the true imposter is the syndrome itself. I think that we've titled it this, and naturally, when you're trying to push boundaries, yeah, you're gonna be met with some oppression. Anybody that's ever done anything great, I think, definitely has struggled with those things. But I think, again, it's our ability to stay focused on the mission, on the vision, being very clear, being consistent, and having courage, much like the message that I shared today with the students. What am I doing? Who am I serving? Who has this problem? And then being consistent in the pursuit of that, and then being courageous every time you have the opportunity to present, every time you have the opportunity to make an ask, And the worst thing they can say is no.
Right.
But if you don't ask, the answer is definitely going to be no.
Yeah. Shameless plug time. There's a lot of hats you wear, a lot of work you do.
Yeah.
How do people find out more about Olivia West and everything she does?
Yeah, well, you can definitely follow me on Instagram at live_west_. I also suggest that you connect on LinkedIn, because if you have a business, a professional presence, you got to be on LinkedIn, because that's where professionals collaborate and connect. And then I also think, super selfishly, come to an Indiana Fever WNBA game. I think it's the best place to be in the summertime. Got 22 home games throughout the season, and we play from now, which is May, until September. So really, really excited about that. It is a blessing. Go Fever, you'll hear me saying that, and repping it all summer long. And yeah, just continue to go out, find your strengths, be where your feet are, and cannot wait to innovate with you all.
All right, love it. Well, Olivia, thank you so much for taking the
Cool.
time. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Chase.
it.